Good afternoon. First and foremost, our job is to protect the family right now. The dignity of this case, we want to, with dignity for the family and dignity of the victim, we want to make sure we protect that. I'm not going to get into how gruesome this case was. There's no need to. This will live on for infamy. This family have to live with this. And so to them, our prayers are with you. As you said, our victim advocates are with you. They will stay with you. Whenever you need them, just call them up. They do an outstanding job. To the detectives, to the forensics unit, the ME, everybody who was involved in this investigation, I want to thank them personally. It was a horrible scene for them out there for several days. It was tough. And for the neighborhood that had to have, with us being out there, I know there's a lot on you too. So I just want to get that out there because just a gruesome case, and this is horrible. And I'll get a little into it further, but it's just one of those things you can never answer the why. And that's what I feel horrible for the family for. So our victim was an Uber Eats and DoorDash driver. I mean, you watch the video, he was a guy just like everybody else, just trying to make a living for his family. And on April 19th at 2:30 p.m., he had dropped his wife off and he started doing his deliveries. His wife and him were communicating via text. At around 6:43, she sent him a text. He responds back and says, yeah, this is basically my last one, I'll be home soon. And he was right around the corner from their house. At 7:13, she sends a message, but there was no response back. So late April 19th into the 20th, she reports him missing. Our patrol goes out, they start doing the investigation. Wasn't a few hours later, they hand it off to the missing persons unit. Our missing persons unit then takes over the case. They actually, later that morning, our missing person unit reached out to Uber Eats, and they were able to provide us some information and his last known GPS coordinates. We post this information on our social media, hospitals, fire rescue, FHP, databases. We kept reaching out to find out, could he just been missing? Did something happen? That was he in a crash? So we're just trying to figure those things out. The GPS showed that he had gone, his last known location was 3438 Moog Road, which is down Holiday. Detectives went to the house, walked around it. There was nothing really suspicious on out there. Nobody answered the door. And so there's actually a body of water across the street. They looked over there to see if maybe something happened. There was no evidence of anything going on. But we kept following up on leads. On April 21st, we actually go back to the house at 3438 Moog Road. At that time, we were able to make contact with the roommate of the suspect. The roommate was able to provide us video, and you can actually see the victim walking up to the house to deliver food, but the video cuts off at that point. You can also see that that was around 6:45 when the video cuts off, or 6:55, right there when he was walking up to that house. You actually see on the video that the following day, so that was the 19th when he delivered the food. You actually see on the following day, on the 20th, the suspect, Oscar Solis, was carrying trash bags with another individual, and you can see them carrying these trash bags around the side of the house. So our detectives did the right thing. They asked for permission to go through the trash bags, to go into trash bags. There was several of them. And unfortunately, what we found inside of some of those trash bags was human remains. So at that point, we held the scene as a crime scene. We were waiting for Emmy, the medical examiner, to come out. Forensics came out. But we were also able to make an arrest on Oscar Solis. He was arrested at that point for failure to register in Pasco County as a felon and violation of parole. He had been in parole in Indiana. He had just moved down to Florida back in January. And so you'll hear his background is a very violent individual. But we were able to make an arrest for those charges immediately. And so we knew at that point there was no public threat out there as to what happened. But for us, and this is what takes so long. I wish we were like those TV shows where we can solve everything in an hour. We can't. Our job at that point, first and foremost, is to make sure that there's no more public threat. We took care of that. Our second issue at that point was we had to identify the victim, and so the following day we were able to do that. But the other part too is we have to build a case. Because I know for many people, everybody wants things done immediately. I just want a solution. I want this done absolutely like within seconds, because we're used to that with Google. But the problem is it doesn't work that way in the real world with cases. And if we as a sheriff's office don't do everything we can from a forensic standpoint, from an investigative standpoint, hand it off to the state attorney's office, and they're not able to bring justice to the family, then we failed through the pipeline. So we can't fail. We have to do everything. And if it may be slow, it's slow, but it's going to be done right. And so that's the one thing we just want to make sure everybody understands out there is that we couldn't give those updates because we did not want to hinder the investigation. You know, after we were able to identify the victim and notify the family and have victim advocates out there, you know, we were kept through the process. And then last evening, on April 24th, we arrested Oscar Solis for felony murder in conjunction with a robbery because we were able to find the victim's wedding ring and car keys in another room in the house outside from where we believe the homicide occurred. And so a couple of things real quick. Talk about Oscar Solis. This guy's he's affiliated with MS-13 from Indiana. Like I said, he just came down here from Indiana like a month or two ago, 2 months or 3 months ago in January. His charges before, he had been battery, burglary, possession of stolen auto parts, drugs, resisting law enforcement, other burglary charges, home detention placement, burglary, battery on detention staff. He supposedly stabbed somebody several times while he was in prison in Indiana. So you're talking about a very violent individual that Indiana released and sent down to Florida. He came down to Florida. They released him on parole. And so unfortunately, now we have a hardworking guy, a loving husband, who's no longer with us because this violent individual killed him. Our call for action we're asking right now is that there are several pictures, these individuals, and I'll tell you, if you're one of those individuals or you're the parent or guardian of one of these kids, it looks like they're young adults, they're not in trouble. We just need to know who they are. Can they come forward information? They were actually in the house about an hour before the homicide occurred. So if anybody has any information, please come forward. As I said, you're not in trouble. We just need to keep building this case because we in Florida will bring justice for this family. We'll ensure, you know, through the state attorney's office that, you know, the family realizes that we did everything we can because this victim, I go back to, it's sad. It's horrible. And the one thing, you know, us as a command staff, we get these updates on the homicides, we get information. And as I start the press conference, and I'll tell you this, I kept asking, what's the connection? Because unfortunately, a lot of times in homicides, there's a connection there. You know, sadly, we know domestic violence is horrible. We know that, you know, there's drug addiction, drug dealers that will shoot each other over drugs and, you know, beefs over gang or other issues or business partners that are mad at each other. There's something that you can say, okay, there was passion, there was anger. This was absolutely a horrific crime of passion. This person, you know, you always say the word evil, but this is demonic. This individual what he did was demonic. But at the same time, we couldn't answer the question why. What the relationship? There doesn't appear to be any relationship. All it appears is that there was a gentleman who was working, was doing his last delivery of the night, and this person killed him for no reason. And he took him away from his family. So please, if there's anybody out there, any other information, please provide it to us, get it to us. We're building up this case, we're working with the state attorney's office, but we're going to ensure that in Florida there will be justice. So with that being said, any questions?
Those kids,